We're back with some breaking economic data.
Yeah, and the first jobs report since President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The U.S. economy added 22,000 jobs in August. That is much less than what was expected. The unemployment rate came in at 4.3%.
Here to dig into the numbers, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung and Investopedia's editor-in-chief Caleb Silver. They are our economic dream team. But, Brian, these are not dream numbers here. I mean, walk us through it on the big board.
Yeah, not at all. These numbers confirming that there is a slowdown happening in this jobs market. Again, just to rehash that number, 22,000. That's how many jobs were added in the month of August. You could see that was far below the expectations. Economists were expecting something closer to 75,000. So really, that number just looking like that. And you can see that is much slower than some of the over 100,000 K job a month paces that we had seen in the later parts of last year and the beginning parts of 2025. Now, I want to point out revisions, because this is essentially what got the last Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner fired after the last report. Again, what we're looking at here were the gray bars are showing what was initially reported. The blue bars, what was then it was revised to. You can see just how sharply they were revised down in the last month's report. But again, we got revisions for this one as well. And not only do the June numbers, according to this new update, look worse compared to what we saw in the last recorded month, they're now saying that the June numbers on a second read was even lower than we thought. It was a contraction of, get this, 13,000 jobs. In fact, we didn't even account for that on this chart because we have not seen a negative number in any month in terms of non-farm payrolls added since 2020. Again, not a good comparison there. The July numbers were revised up a little bit to 79,000. But again, when you consider, or rather, that's a little bit closer to here. But again, these numbers are nonetheless very alarming when you consider that this is a jobs market that is slowing. And I want to point out that Trump doesn't even have his own person in at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It is an acting director while he tries to get his nominee through the Senate.
Brian, you are working that board today. Thank you very much for those drawings. Caleb, just first your reaction to the figures, but also kind of like help us understand what this means without the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, what to make of these numbers generally going forward.
Yeah, trust in these numbers is up in question anyway, and these numbers are not very good. You know, the president's not going to like these at all. I was looking across a lot of these different sectors here. Brian talked about revisions. Hold your hat. September 9th, we're going to get revisions for the past 12 months. The job market could have been a lot weaker than all of us thought for the past year. We're going to figure that out next week. But when you look at some of these numbers, especially the long-term unemployed, people unemployed 27 weeks or more, that's 1.9 million. That is up 385,000 so far this year. That tells you people are having a very hard time getting back into the labor force if they're out of it.
Brian, what happens when we just break it down by industry? What do we see?
Yeah, so if we try to figure out exactly where in this report we saw some of the contractions. By the way, the unemployment rate still looking okay at 4.3%, just kind of worth noting there. But when we take a look at healthcare, we did see some robust gains there, 30.6 thousand added in the month. Federal government, we did see a contraction in the amount of federal government workers. There's a lot of seasonality here. I want to point that out. But nonetheless, in the month of August, down 15,000. Leisure and hospitality, this was a big driver of a lot of the job gains post-pandemic. This actually looked pretty okay, 28,000. I think one point of weakness that is worth noting is actually the one part of the president's agenda that has been very much in focus in terms of job gains, and that is manufacturing. We saw a contraction in this industry of 12,000 jobs. So again, something that's certainly not going to be welcome to the administration, but perhaps one of the reasons why this number was so disappointing on a headline basis.
All right, Caleb. Timeline.
12 days, 5 hours, and 15 minutes. There's a 97% chance the Fed lowers rates at that meeting coming up in a couple of weeks here. The question is it going to be a quarter point? Is it a half point? Did they wait too long? Is the labor market so weak now that maybe they're way behind the eight ball? We might have aggressive
What does this
cuts.
report kind of mean in that context?
It means one of the key things that the Fed is trying to uphold here, a strong labor force, is not strong and has not been strong. Brian mentioned some of those job losses, 78,000 job losses in manufacturing so far this year, 97,000 in government jobs. I was also looking across race here. The black unemployment rate, 7.5%. Nationally, it's 4.3%. Hispanic, 5.3%. So worse for a lot of different groups here and potentially getting worse.
Brian, how about wages? What are we seeing there with this report?
Yeah, well, look, one bright spot in this labor market is that wages are still outpacing inflation. This report telling us that between August of this year and August of last year, average hourly earnings are up by 3.7%. If we compare that to the overall rate of inflation. The last measure that we got from the Consumer Price Index was 2.7%. So by and large, most Americans are seeing their wages rising at a faster pace than inflation. But as Caleb just pointed out, that's going to be different depending on what group of America, what corner, what race you're talking about. It might not always be the case that wages are outpacing inflation. But again, at a macro level, based off of the data that we're seeing, at least that is still one bright spot.
All right, Brian and Caleb, this will be a big story today on Wall Street and beyond. Thank you both.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.